Hey everyone, welcome back to Be Not Afraid. I'm Carrie Bartholomew, otherwise known as Carob Marcelle. I usually say it's complicated, but this morning I had a situation that made me realize I'm not going to say it's complicated. I'm going to explain why I use Carob Marcelle. The reason why is because the carob tree represents people who do the right thing, even in the hardest situations. Specifically, the carob tree was planted for the families, in honor of the families who hid Jewish families, especially children, during the Holocaust. I had
Wow.
no idea that that was the story, but that's it. And that's what I try to do on my page is highlight people who do the hard thing in extremely difficult situations. And today my guest is no different. My guest is Christy Anderson out of Colorado. She is a teacher and a former leader of the teachers union. Is that correct?
Yeah, I was in leadership. Yeah.
Yes.
Attended many state level.
And so we're going to talk about how a red state like Colorado turns into Comirado. Christy, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, I am more than I just the word needs to be out. More people need to be aware of what's going on, and it's pretty crazy in my 26 years to see what has really happened to public education. And I actually plan on writing a book. I started it, but anybody that knows me, like I'm a teacher and a realtor and have two kids. And so when I say I'm working on writing a book, people kind of look at me like, yeah, when's that going to take place? So, um, yeah, I would say in my 26 years, this is probably one of the biggest changes in public education that has happened for a long time. And interestingly enough, I've gone down the rabbit holes, I've done the research, and this actually started in the 70s. So, what we are seeing is not like we woke up one morning and oh my gosh, everything has changed. This has been a very collaborated, planned, intentional change.
Right. And what is it exactly that you're seeing? Because so many people will say, whatever you're saying, it's not there. No, it's not. I asked a question about sex ed in schools, and someone was like, no, it's not. Release the Epstein files. And you just sit there
Oh
going,
my gosh.
have,
Well, tell them to watch. Whose children are they?
yeah,
Anybody that is watching this, it doesn't matter if you have kids in the public school, it doesn't matter if you have kids in private school. Watch the movie, Whose Children Are They? And so I would say about 8 years ago. So I just finished my 26th year of teaching. It's always been in elementary, kindergarten first, second, and now I've been in third grade for the last 16 years. And um, I would say back in my first 10 years, we taught civics, we taught kids voting. We had um, and I'll tie this. I'm kind of off, but it will tie in, I promise you. So with kids voting, we talked about the candidates. It was Clinton and Bush at the time. I was teaching first grade. It was I believe kids voting was kind of a national thing, teaching kids how to be, you know, your civic duty
civically
of
responsible.
voting.
Mhm.
Yep. And going through each candidate, not because of the one that you liked or you wanted to trash, but because you wanted informed, even 5-year-olds voting, right? So we did this big thing. It was really interesting. You could tell what families were talking about at home. And, but it was healthy and it was communication. And then I would say I just kind of got busy teaching because it's not just putting worksheets on a desk, and not just having summers off. And so I kind of, I made a move to a different school at that time and just kind of started thinking like, man, we haven't taught social studies like we used to. It kind of got hijacked by the whole social emotional learning, building the community. And about 8 years ago, I was very involved in the union. I joined the union the first year, for the legal coverage. That's what they
Mhm.
sold it to me as. And then I was actually presented with an opportunity known as, I was always kind of known as the black sheep in the union leadership meetings. But I felt respected. I felt like I had a voice. I did feel like it was more nonpartisan. I attended many trainings at the state level, and one that will always stick in my head is we had a group of 40 educators from the state of Colorado. And I'm sorry, I don't know how much time I have.
We have an hour,
Okay,
and
okay,
this can be a part 1, because
yes,
I'm
okay.
really interested in all of this. But I just wanna tell you one small story about, when my son was in 4th grade, the Scholastic brought out a paper.
Oh, yeah.
They had the voting on the back of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And his teacher in this small town, right? This small town where obviously a good percentage, even though it was in Washington State, a good percentage were conservatives.
Mm-hmm.
The teacher
Because we do exist.
Right. The teacher, um, had decorated her room in all, like, pro-America. She persisted. It was a complete celebration of Hillary Clinton's win in September before Hillary didn't win, right? And she had all of the kids vote on who they were going to vote for. And
Oh,
the funny thing is my very precocious then child, um, wrote he realized that there was a write-in and he could write in anyone, so he wrote it himself, which if you know him, you know that that makes a lot of sense, but think about the pressure
oh my
when the
God.
classroom's already decorated in Hillary Clinton. I didn't even know you
That's
could decorate in Hillary Clinton.
no, you shouldn't. You
Right.
shouldn't. And I think, yeah, like, I mean, I could turn this into like a 4-part series because we could talk about the training that is not taking place for our new educators.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's terrible. I mean, you can celebrate America. I do that in my classroom all the time, but you only know my beliefs from being closely like in my friend circle. If you see me on Facebook, my children do not know that unless their families have shared that with them.
Mhm,
I do not believe that's my place.
mhm,
Now, when it comes to religion, with this attack on the nuclear family and religion, and I know my freedom of speech. I know I have freedom of religion, and I have tattoos that are Christian based in my belief. I wear my crosses. If kids ask me if I go to church, I tell them. I actually attended a student's baptism this last year, and it was just beautiful. So I feel like, if you and your rainbow and all of the paraphernalia that you can have in your classroom, game on. I actually met with our superintendent a few years ago and said, why does math need a pride flag? Why do we have a pride flag in our math classrooms? What does that have to do with anything? And he's like, well, and I said, well, what would happen if I had a heterosexual flag in my classroom or a flag with a cross? Now, the church and state thing, like, don't even get me started on that. Many people don't even know what the separation of church and state was meant to be.
right.
Right. So anyway, he said, well, I probably like, I guess I just don't understand why you would have that. And I was like, well,
But you
yeah,
do
kind of.
understand why you'd have a pride flag.
Yeah, so you kind of just made my point. My
Right.
students don't need to know my sexuality. They don't. So, but then I talked about, and he went on to talk about how his teacher had Bible verses posted around the room. And that if I did, he probably wouldn't say much about it. So it really got me thinking, like, I do believe that he respects us as individuals. So back to the civics, I would say that civics got hijacked in a big way. We stopped teaching about actual history. Now, our fifth grade standards have and still continue to be around the Civil War and the Boston Tea Party and like American, um, history. And our school board that was brought on, our conservative school board that we had a few years ago, because the union bought out our two candidates now, but it's not as bad as I thought it might be, so that's a celebration. But we have a reading curriculum now that in third grade anyway, we study America, we study Star Spangled Banner, and the kids do a project around what it means to be an American. So I will say that we have changed that quite a bit.
What was it before?
Nothing. We were using the college units of study, which is Lucy Calkins, which it's a very left-leaning curriculum. It's very open-ended. It was kind of like I sat in a training and had somebody from New York City just tell me that my library out here in Colorado was racist. That's basically what that reading training was. It was very open-ended, and so we really didn't have time, I guess, is how they put it. It was more around building your community and having morning meetings and the social emotional learning. Um,
Which I
so
do want to get back to that one, but one thing that I want to hit on is a couple of years ago, multiple libraries were purging their books.
yes,
So, and they were purging them of books like Who Was, kind of books that were explaining who the founding fathers were, or founding mothers in history, right? And
yeah,
so a lot of people would go out and they were like, why are they purging them? So a lot of homeschools went out and picked up the books because that was a crazy thing. And so what does it mean to quote have a racist library?
that most kids are white and come from a nuclear family. Um, yeah, it was insanity. I was like, we paid a lot of money to train, and those of us that had been teaching for a long time, some of us could see right through it. And I was like, this has nothing. I mean, here is something too. So at the state level, we always had, for the union, we always had these trainings. This is probably where my eyes were like, what is happening? So we were in Breckenridge, Colorado, and you don't have to know a lot about Breckenridge. It is a mountain town, ski area, predominantly white, probably, I'm guessing. And teaching, well, let me ask you, teaching, would you say there are more females or males in teaching?
Obviously female.
Yeah. So we're sitting in this training in Breckenridge, and I'm there with my friends, and I'm there to represent the union, CEA. It's a state level training. And one, a gentleman of color, African American, however like, I want to be respectful, but he got up in front of a room of 600 educators and asked us to look around, and if we noticed that it was predominantly female white. And then another gal got up, and she was also African American, and she got up in front of the room and she said, "We're having a cocktail party for the colored people." Yes, yes, this took place,
So
and
this
it's
was
not
this was 6
hearsay.
years ago. This is 2020 during like right after Floyd, or was it before?
This is before Floyd. I
Wow.
left the union about when my union friends called me a racist because Colorado was trying to put in a year, yeah, it seems like it, a week of Black Lives Matter specific to our
Is
February
that
4th.
yours? Hang on.
That was
You had
it.
a
That
weird
was at
sound
the
there.
state level.
Can you repeat that again? You had a weird sound that came in. So
Oh,
that
yeah.
Colorado was trying to put in what?
So Colorado was trying to put in to February Black Lives. So it's Black History Month. They wanted
Mhm.
to put in a week of Black Lives Matter, specifically that curriculum into our learning. And I, of course, came out and said, talk about polarizing, like
Right,
this is terrible. And
right.
I was called colorblind, and I was told that I am closed minded because I've never been in New York and watched the profiling, and that I was a racist. And I was with my union friends getting ready to go to delegate assembly at the state level. And I actually left that meeting and gave myself shingles. I was so mad. I had been with these people for 15 plus years, and for them to call me like, so it was kind of like, they don't care about people, they care about power, they care about money. And every training that I went to at the state level was ridiculous. I was usually the only one. So just, I know I'm kind of bouncing all over the place because this is what like gave me like it empowered me to say, no, you know what, Christy, you're
The
what you've
empathy.
been feeling, what you have been witnessing, it's actually happening. It's not just conspiracy. It's not just you being sensitive or whatever. So that was big for me. But there was a training at the state level where they posted like this huge, there were 40 educators from Colorado. This is CEA. So a lot of those people are still in leadership positions at the state level. I was there because I was head of membership committee. And so my job was to connect members, have social events, and grow membership. That's what it was. So we're in this training. There were 40, I think, educators. They put up a picture of Betsy DeVos, and the room just erupts, right? And so then you go to the four corners of the room. So one corner you go like you're ready to go lynch this person. You're ready to go make signs and protest and walk in front of CEA downtown Denver, like just madness. Then another corner was it makes me angry, but I need a little more, like I'm not ready to go march today kind of thing. And then another corner was I really don't have, I'm pretty neutral to this. And then another corner was I don't have enough information on what you're talking about to make a decision. So of course I go over to the I don't know enough about this, and I'm the only one in the room. I mean, we had half the room that wanted to go make signs and march in front of CEA. And so of course I was called out like, how do you feel about being the only one over here? And I'm like, I'm
Oh, you mean
fine.
you had a struggle session. You had a
Yeah,
struggle session in front of.
yeah.
Mhm.
And so they were like, how do you feel about being the only one that has this feeling? And I'm like, I'm fine. I said, look at how hateful you guys are.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
you don't have, I didn't like Arnie Duncan. I don't like anybody that hasn't been in a classroom to make policies. So, and then this is the one. I come from law enforcement. My dad was in law enforcement. And so we have teachers that are married to law enforcement, and it's the union was coming out with defund the police.
Yeah.
And so the next picture, so I'm back in that room. The next picture they put up is pepper spraying the students at UCLA. Do you remember that whole like what was
No.
it? Um there were some students, it was a protest, it got out of control, and the cops were using pepper spray or something to that effect. And
Mhm.
then, oh man, now you have, those people are ready to march again against police. And
Can I ask you, were these teachers in your age bracket, or are these
mhm.
younger teachers who are ready to fight?
No, interesting that you ask that. because there is this belief, I think, because I've had it, that a lot of the younger teachers, and it is true, that they have been trained to be activists instead of educators.
Yeah.
But this group was a mix. And I would say that a lot of them were my age.
What what happened when you went to school to be a teacher? And I know you said that this started in the 70s, and I would argue it actually started in the 30s,
Okay,
um,
yes.
because of Bella Dodd infiltrating the school with communism. Um,
Yep.
so, um, but in the 70s is when you started reading about that, and I'm assuming that that's the Grotto book, right? Is that this one?
Yeah. So,
No, not that one. I don't think
well,
that's
no,
it.
that's fine. But when you look at the Communist Manifesto,
This one, right?
yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay,
And
better.
when you look at the Communist Manifesto, you're absolutely right. Like, anybody, go now, Google it, and then look around your world,
Yeah,
So
yeah.
what's funny is that I don't know how I made it through teaching without becoming, I mean, my friends and I kind of look at each other and we're like, how did we make it through? How were we not, I mean, this is probably like, I would like to do another session just based on where my eyes were really fully opened was with the teacher leadership initiative at the national level. Um, my local friends in the union thought I was a perfect candidate, and so I went through that, and that was the changing moment for me. Um, just like,
Let's I mean, we should absolutely, like, plan on doing this maybe once a month through the summer if you have the I would love
oh
that.
yeah,
But
yeah.
let's try a little bit to organize it down for the remainder of
I
our
know.
time.
You
Sorry.
tell me where you want me to focus. So let's go back to social studies.
Yeah, yeah, I'd like to go with civics because we are watching, um this is like my focus for the week because I am
Oh, perfect.
watching the most leftist people in my state suddenly they're teaching a summer civics course at UVU. And I know for a fact that these are people who can't even spell the word white. They spell it WHYTE because I mean,
Oh,
I
that
can't even explain it. If you have an explanation, all I can
I've
think of is
never
stupid.
heard of that, but I'm so tired of the double speak. So that doesn't surprise me. It
Well,
must make it lighter or like I don't know.
well, and so a woman who's running for office currently, she just put out a thing yesterday and she was like, the word of the day is democracy. And again, I'm just like,
But you don't know what democracy is.
and then there's this, this happened in 2020 that really shocked me because I was like, I was the super uber. I was the parent that all the teachers loved
Oh
because
yeah,
if a
I'm
teacher
sure.
would call and
The
say something,
volunteer, yeah.
everything, including I ran the theater program.
Oh
And I
my
think the
gosh.
first time I saw woke was when I was running Peter Pan, and some woman who had no idea who I was sent me this diatribe about, don't I know that that made fun of Native Americans and blah, 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 blah. And I needed to trust minorities.
Oh.
And so I took a screenshot of my face and said, point taken. I had no idea.
It's just crazy.
So, but then it was virtually overnight. So George Floyd is killed, and all of a sudden, so many people, because I lived in a place called Snohomish, and so
Okay,
many
yeah.
people start sending me messages going, I'm so sorry this happened to you. What can I do to ease your pain? And I'm like, George Floyd was a thug.
Yes.
I don't know the
Amen.
rest
Thank
of it.
you.
I want
Yeah.
to see the rest of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then, we were already in lockdown, and all of a sudden, a music teacher gets on, they're doing the kids online, and she goes, I just want to invite all of the kids. We're going to have a sit down in the street. We're going to be 8 feet away, but we're going to have a sit down. We're going to have a get together. Okay, so you've got kids who've been locked in home. They can't do anything. And the first chance they have to go be with their friends that's
There's some
acceptable
activism. Yeah.
for fifth graders.
Well,
For fifth graders.
our superintendent at the time, it's not the one now, the one prior, sent out a email to all families, all community about how this is wrong. We stand with George Floyd, or I mean, like, I was just like, no, we
I want
don't.
to
Like,
know. I want
you're
to
not
know why.
speaking. Yeah.
And then I saw all the Black Lives Matter stuff, and I wish I would have had that. You guys, there was this Smithsonian Black History Smithsonian thing, and it said all of the things that were considered white privilege, and it was things like being on time. And when I
Oh,
saw
yeah.
that, I thought, this is this is degrading.
Yeah.
Like, we should be teaching all of our children to be on time. And I just saw such low expectations for African Americans.
Oh,
And then I
yeah.
saw this thing, let us attack the family. The nuclear family is oppressive. And I'm sitting there going, I've worked freaking hard
I
to
know.
climb out of the ghetto and have a normal family.
And
And
how good for you. That should
well,
be celebrated.
but when did it happen? Because I can't imagine the teachers that would call and say, I'm having a horrible day, and I'd run to Starbucks and get them something. How did they just flip like that?
I know. I
What happened?
I honestly don't know. It's kind of like all of the things that happened during COVID and how terrible, and how it opened Pandora's box to what some of our educators across this country were doing. Um,
So
it's
they were doing that before? Because you said that your meeting that you went to was before George Floyd.
yeah, it
So
was. I'd have to I would have to really look. I mean, I have paperwork from trainings and stuff. I could give you the exact dates, but I'm guessing it was about 8 years ago.
so about the time that Trump came into office, it really comes down to the teachers literally thinking, and tell me if I'm wrong about this, but it seems to me that people felt that voting for Obama was the absolution of
Mhm.
any guilt ever.
Yep.
And so whatever he says and whatever he wanted is what we should do if we're going to move forward and be good people.
Yep. And he destroyed the DSM. I mean, that's a whole nother thing
Yeah.
for psychology.
Yes.
He made it impossible to suspend students K through 2.
This is restorative justice.
Yep. This is all of that. Yeah. I mean, there are things that many people don't realize happened.
Let's talk about
Um,
that. Or tell me how that happened. How so K through 2 could not be suspended.
you still can't. Yeah.
Okay?
It's illegal. I think there are some workarounds, but that is really the inception of everybody has trauma. It's not behavior. You need to build a relationship. You need to have I call them kumbaya sessions, the morning meetings. And that
With your
hijacked,
classroom or with other teachers before
yeah,
class?
with the classroom
You have to have morning
meetings. Yeah,
check-ins
this is
kind of thing?
social. So I sent you, and if I haven't, I will. They actually call it non-academic curriculum. Social emotional castle. It's on. I sent you a graphic with
I
all of the different splinters. But anyway, and that's huge too. Well, this is the union. This is trying to
I
reach
think
out.
this is
Yeah,
it.
there it is. So COVID opened up this huge. So anytime you hear of the social emotional learning, it's castle, and they actually call it non-academic learning. And so
Isn't
we
it funny where it comes from? Right here in Utah, thank you.
yeah,
Right,
yeah,
and I'm
it
I'm familiar with all of this, yeah, yeah. Okay.
So, what came as like capturing kids' hearts, or I mean, there are so many different curriculums, but it took away academic time for feelings. So a lot of us, I'm not the only one, but a lot of us that know that kids need to know math facts by heart. They need to memorize them. Math is racist. Did you know that? You've heard
Oh,
that,
I'm
right?
aware. Yes.
Yeah. And
That's so
gifted and
dangerous.
talented is racist. Yeah. So all of these things that came to be, and even in my daily school, we have third graders that can't add 3 plus 2 because we
And
haven't
what was it
put
before?
the what.
Was this an issue beforehand that 3rd
I
graders.
no we had no we had things, it became. And see, this is what's really hard is like when you are living that life and you're just going day to day, and then you have a moment to look up and you're like, and I honestly question myself all the time, like, this came under me. It literally came while I was in the system. But but teaching is this.
So
I
was it
mean,
literally overnight? Like all of a sudden you're teaching 3 plus 2 equals 5, and then they're just like, "Oh, and tomorrow you're going to start teaching, you're going to start having the
well,
kumbaya circle."
yes and no. Like the math facts thing started when I was getting I was helping mentor teachers, and the college level was like, "Oh, we don't do mad minutes." And I was like, "Well, why not?" "Oh, well, because that's stressful. That's
Oh my
that's
gosh.
you can't do that." So there's this big thing about, no, you can't do math facts to fluency. So they called it committing to memory in our standards, but that's not memorization.
Right.
So Common Core is a piece of that,
Can
but
I
it
just
is
a
true.
second, cuz I worked for a charter school that does math facts every single still does math facts every single day. They have the highest rating in the state.
Thank you for saying that. Thank you.
So I just needed to clarify that because there are times when you just go, "Well, that's a bunch of hokey. I'm not
Yeah.
doing it."
And and it's simple and the kids like it. It's
Yes, they
like,
have fun. They love it,
yes.
especially when they know the challenges against themselves. Can they be better than they were yesterday? Or can they match what they did yesterday? They're not
And
looking, there's
it's
ways
all
to
about
not.
moving forward. It's like,
Yes.
if you don't have your math facts, we're not posting them on the wall. But like when we went to school, it was fine to have like a little healthy competition to see who's read the most books, who's
Yes.
done the most, like who's gotten farthest. Now, it's funny for me to say this because in third grade, we had math cups and you had to go against a person from another classroom, and it was math facts, it was drill and kill, it was all the things. And I hated it. But you know what it did for me? It made me stronger.
Right.
Like I
Yep.
wasn't able to sit out because I was traumatized. And here's another thing, and I know I am kind of it there's so much involved in teaching, but this whole like everybody gets recognized for breathing, no.
Right.
I do a spelling bee, and we don't give medals to everybody. We give medals to the people that they all have the same opportunities to study, to prepare, and we give medals to the people that rise above. That is life. That's what happens in the real world.
Well, at least it's what it
So,
should, because as we get more and more Marxist, it will be that you get those tokens. I know somebody who got a full ride scholarship for being Black, period.
yeah.
Not for having grades, but for being Black. Um,
See, and I heard the other day that you can buy your way into like the dental hygienist that used to be like you had to study, you had to score a certain, now you can just buy your way in.
wow.
But so this whole thing, like there are so many things that have gone on in education in my time. Um because we got hijacked academics, and even in their own words for social emotional learning, it is non-academic learning. um they say it out loud, you know, it is non-academic learning. Now, do we need to get to know our kids? Absolutely. If you don't have classroom management, you probably don't belong in a classroom, and that falls on training, teacher training. But you take teachers that don't really feel comfortable teaching, you know, because they've become activists and they have this platform, and then these social emotional curriculums, there's no more social studies, there's no more civics, because it's all about your truth and and if you go down the rabbit hole, which I'm sure you have, social emotional learning takes Jesus out of everything.
Oh, yeah.
It's
No,
it's
the Fetzer Institute was created by John E. Fetzer. John E. Fetzer started his whole process with consulting with a Ouija board. From the very
Yeah,
be like, and you can it is one Google search, Johnny Fetzer Ouija board, and you'll find
yeah,
it.
and Ferrer.
Paulo
um
Freire. Mhm.
yep.
Yeah.
And so, I say all inclusive. Okay, so when's the last time that a school district took a survey on how many Christians that believe in Jesus?
There's a very strong anti-Christian rhetoric, which is really surprising because a lot of people would say, "Well, I am a Christian." But, I see even if you bring up, say porn in schools, okay?
Oh,
People will
oh.
say things like, "Well, not all of my students are Christian." But here's the issue with that. Not every person who's against porn for kids is religious at all or is Christian.
Exactly.
In fact, Mahmoud versus Aubrey was an Islamist who didn't want it taught to his kids. So,
Who's asking
but but
them?
but who do you attack? And it
Mhm.
is, I'm sorry, but it is teachers who are in these threads attacking and saying, "I'm so tired of Christians pushing their stuff." It's utter
It is.
projection because I don't even want, like, take somebody who believes what I believe versus somebody like Talarico. Both are Christian, right?
Yeah.
There's no way that I want Talarico's version taught
Mhm.
to my kids, so I think it's best to just keep it all out.
It, it is. And
Like,
we cannot be, teachers cannot take on all of society's shortcomings. And that's what
yeah,
has happened. So we, like we're mental health therapists. I didn't go to school to be a mental health therapist. I went to school to teach kids how to read, and I'm pretty dang good at it. And if you would get out of my way and let me teach and not talk about kumbaya feelings every day and not keep kids in the counselor, kids would live in the counselor's office. They cannot regulate dropping their pencil box. Now that's a little extreme, but for some kids, it hurts my heart how they cannot regulate the simplest of things without feeling like they need a counselor and SEL perpetuates that.
oh, yeah. It's
So,
all in your feelings all the time.
yeah, and
Pull that up.
your truth and what brings you peace. And
Well, and it's a
like,
lie in itself because they'll say your truth, but if your truth is, "This is a bunch of garbage," you're wrong.
well,
Um,
and that's what
yeah.
I said to my district around this, because we're getting a new SEL curriculum this year because our state mandates it.
Mhm.
And our state, as you know, like I could name some people right at the top that are absolutely out of their minds with
Yeah.
trying to take rights from parents and like just overstepping way more. I mean, I went into teaching and my biggest fear was, what if I come across a parent that doesn't agree with the way that I've scored something or the way that never in a million years, never did I think this would be the case. And it really hurts my heart. And then I have to remember too that, the saying and the verse of like, we were made as for such a time as this.
Mhm.
And that has given me like the empowerment to say, you know what? No, I want my district to give a survey that asks how many people believe in Jesus, because this curriculum doesn't support them. It's not inclusive
Oh, yeah.
for their children to be in there. So stop. I mean, the word inclusive drives me nuts, because we're not all inclusive. And I've had these big discussions.
No, in
But
fact, it
it's
gives you permission to not be, right? So, I
yep.
mean, because that's when I first saw the wheel of privilege and power. Um, Again, anybody who's watching, go and just Google that, the wheel of privilege and power. The goal
Or the
is to
privilege walk, because
the
I had to do it. Yeah.
oh yeah, yeah. So those are they're two different things, because the wheel of privilege and power says that if you are a person who they've deemed is powerful. Now, this makes me laugh because Tim Shriver is like part of the Kennedy family. So you
Huh.
talk about privilege and power, and also the power to rule over how all of us are supposed to think. But, you're supposed to move out and you're supposed to center around these people who have been told from cradle to grave that they are victims.
Yes.
It starts with blacks.
The
Sorry.
oppressors and the oppressed. Yep.
And so watch the black. I just found out that in Congress there is the Black Caucus is called something about um the moral voice of and
Oh my gosh.
yeah, and so I was listening to Shadow Jackson, and he was talking about it, but something about like the moral voice. Don't quote me on that, but look it up.
Yeah,
um
no, I
but
will.
so that's the circle, right? And you're supposed to get
Mhm.
out of the circle and move these people who have been taught not only that they're victims, but that anything they do because they are victims is
It's fine.
virtuous.
Yeah.
So you've got people, young kids, who are ruling the school. I don't like this and I don't have to like it, and you can't make me do it because I struggle with anxiety. The first time I heard
Yep.
a first grader say, "I had so much anxiety when you weren't here for a week, Mrs. B,"
Oh, I
I was
know.
like, "You're a first grader."
Oh,
And,
yeah.
you know
Yeah, we have students that, if we're going to be gone, because heaven forbid you would need a substitute, they can't regulate that. That
yeah.
is, I mean, how yeah, I'm sorry. I know
So
I'm
I
all
think
over.
no, 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 I know, I think this is good. But I do think my theory, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I know that a lot of parents have basically checked out. They see school as daycare, and so when their kids act like, brats, um, they either they just don't think it's their problem.
Right, it's the school's problem. Like, you're in a
Mhm.
power struggle. You need to figure it out.
And so then that takes teachers who maybe wouldn't always, maybe they would look at the wheel of privilege and power and go, something does not seem right with this, but I'm desperate for something
Yep.
because you won't let me remove the child who is having a meltdown.
Yeah.
So then they bring in, you know, I have a t-shirt that says the government that created the problem should not be expected to fix the problem.
It's at the lowest level. That is low hanging fruit. Low hanging fruit. The Department of Education has run it into the ground.
Yeah.
Like, it's broken. So why do we continue to put resources and all, like, give somebody else another chance?
Yeah.
I mean,
And it's
it's
it's I would say it's the very fascism that they say they're against.
and we
Randy
see it.
Weingarten. Yeah.
Yeah, and you probably see it on the corners in your own neighborhood. I do. People that don't agree with, it's usually Trump. They that don't want a king, they're out there protesting every day about something that bothers them. And it's like,
In a
yeah,
fascist government, that wouldn't be possible.
yeah.
And
And
they don't
so,
get that. They don't
no,
understand that a dictator would literally round them up and put them in jail. That's not happening, but their brains are so broken that they honestly believe it is.
I know. And
And
I,
and you're like,
as
"Are you
a
standing outside right
teacher,
now?" Yes.
as
So
a teacher, I feel like it is my duty to show kids that you might cry, you might get mad at me, but you're going to grow and you're going to figure out that life is going to be hard. There are going to be some super hard times, and feeling angry and feeling stressed and anxiety and trauma and all these things. I'm not taking that away, but you still have to succeed in life in whatever way that you need to, and become a citizen of society, a productive citizen of society. And so we always talk about, like, you can have real feelings, but you don't stay in them.
Well,
And
and
it
that's
doesn't,
like the opposite of SEL because and also mental health. A lot of times people will go and the first thing that they hear in the first meeting, parents have told me is, "Well, you're going to be a lifelong patient."
yeah.
What?
Well, and like, don't even get me started on this trans stuff, using suicide as like, if you don't do this to your child, they're gonna take their life. You know,
Right.
it's like, it's such a I don't even know the word for it, but it
It's
was
abusive,
planned.
manipulative, and it completely fundamentally changes the family, which is the goal. The goal is to fundamentally
Yep.
transform the people who run Utah. There's a pack called the Governing Pack, and they only endorse people who are committed to fundamentally transforming Utah. Now, the way that they do that is they take a kid, one kid in the class, one kid in their family, and they turn that kid into a very fragile little person who's also kind of like their home's personal dictator because they've learned that if you don't give me what I want, I just have to threaten
Yep. Yep.
this. And
Yep.
so parents are living in their homes kind of like, what do I do? And you have two people make two decisions. One, and it's really sad. I know people who are in this situation, they're estranged from their families because
Yeah.
usually the moms, usually the moms um become like, well, you know what Munchausen is?
Mm-hmm.
That's usual they become like Transhausen by proxy. So
So
they're
sad.
being an ally is the most important thing, and they have no idea that being an ally, it's no different than in a communist country. If you were part of a black class, your only way out of it was to turn against your family. And we're
Yeah.
watching families destroy, and then you go all the way back to your Black Lives Matter thing, right? So you get
Mm-hmm.
that Black Lives Matter conversation, and all of these, and the goal is to destroy the nuclear family. Well, how do you do that? Put a trans kid in the family.
Yeah. Yep.
And I'll go back to another thing with the Black Lives Matter and the trans thing. I don't know if you saw, I wish I would have shared it. I'll have to share it in the notes, but there was a thing this week from the GSA that says, first off, and this one made me want to go into my hidey hole and put a blanket over my head and just like not exist for a little bit,
Uh,
because they're now calling the trans youth movement truth. Trans youth truth. So it's now the truth movement, and that's pretty horrific. And then they don't even hide it. And on the bottom, they say, our goal is to get these kids to realize climate justice, racial justice, and
oh
to
my
defund
gosh.
the police.
Of
So
course.
it's
It's,
not about a kid being confused, it's about
yeah.
using them the same as it's been since the 1930s for Blacks.
Yep. And in our, not in our community right now, we're using, because we care so much about people, and I have nothing to do with this. So, but homeless people, what is it, houselessness? So
Houseless. Yeah. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
we're using, so it's the whole thing of like, we're using people. Don't you care about these kids?
Yeah.
Don't you care about these people that don't have a place to live? You know, never mind that a lot of them are drug addicts, and you can throw a lot of, but that's a whole nother thing. It's like, it's this big thing of we care so much that we don't care at all. It's all
right.
about our agendas and our money.
Virtue signaling while
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, I don't know if you've heard about this one thing that they had little first grade, either kindergarten or first graders do. Lisa Logan talked about it. And they had them postpone their lunch for enough time that it gave them hunger pains. And then the teachers had them sit on the desk and meditate away their hunger pains and told them, there are people starving around the world. And all you have to do is be a little bit uncomfortable to solve those problems. And that is, oh, unhoused. Yes, thank you.
Oh, is that what it is? And
Unhoused. Yes. But
I can't even, like,
have
unalived. I just became aware of that instead
that's
of,
that's where you're not supposed to, yeah, you're not supposed to say. I oftentimes say exit stage left because I taught theater. But
okay.
you're just not supposed to use the word suicide. I don't have a big enough following to to matter if I use those words, but
Mm.
and the thing
It's
is that when you do the research, the people who are most likely to commit suicide, to carry through with it, are the Caucasian young man who has either been sexually exploited via um,
mhm.
phones, or you know, if you've got principals who are if you've got principals who are killing themselves because of struggle sessions, like the one in Canada, what do you think it does to kids? And so I think the reason they start this as young as your kids, as young as
Mhm.
your children, is so that they don't have to be heavy-handed in it. They don't see themselves
Yeah,
heavy-handed.
I it makes me sick to my stomach at how kids in the public school system are used. Like, look at how much money we make in testing companies, for the curriculum companies. Now the GSA and whatever. I mean, I don't know. There are what, 38 different. I don't even know. It doesn't um it's
Yeah.
not that I don't care, but it's like it will change. That's not even, so it is hard. It is hard. Like, I mean, I have 4 more years, and I love the kids. I love teaching, but what they have done to, like, I can't take student teachers anymore. We don't speak the same language, even if we're English speaking, if you know what I mean. Like,
Right.
we don't we don't dress the same. We don't know what professionalism is. We don't know how to have a great conversation, problem solving, show up on time. You don't need to be their friend. You're not there to be their friend, in fact. And you're also, this is my biggest thing, especially in middle and high schools, is like, you are not a teacher for a political platform. So if all you're doing, and the local teachers that do this, just, it infuriates me, because we had one that invited Black Lives Matter in to a classroom and had the other kids apologize for their color. And I actually had the opportunity to have a really
How
frank,
old?
middle school.
What?
And I actually met with her and had a discussion with her and said, I hope you learned your lesson. This is the issue that I have with younger, newer educators, is like, what
What?
happened to ethics and what you've been hired to teach? But we hear about teachers all the time, right? And it's no different than any part of life. You're going to have the good, you're going to have the bad. But it
Yeah.
seems like the bad have more influence
Well,
than they
how do you
ever
teach how do you
should.
teach when you are taught that there is no truth but power, that truth is relative? Moral relativism has destroyed civilization since the beginning of time.
Hmm.
So how does a teacher teach? They just become facilitators in the room, and the cooler they are, the more a child, especially the young ones, the more the
Yeah,
children
because
are
they're
likely
still
to believe whatever
children.
they say.
Yep. Yeah.
Exactly. Um, and they have no idea, again, they have no idea what a cultural revolution is and that they're pawns. And at some point, like you said, the way that they dress, sometimes you'll see like them with, half dressed.
Yeah,
And
but they're supposed to be role models for our
right.
younger
Yes,
kids.
but more than that, we have this battle that I call the queer and the crescent. And that is a real battle. And right now they're pretending to get along. But the crescent is never going to be okay with the way that the queer behaves. In the
Mhm.
end, it's never going to happen. And I'm not saying queer to be disparaging. I'm using queer because that's the word they use, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
and queer does not mean, I know I've said this before, but for any new followers, queer is not a slur against anti gay, lesbian, or even trans people. What queer means is if you take a stick and you twist it around to the point that it's unrecognizable, maybe twist it into a knot, you've queered the stick.
Yeah.
You've changed it from what it was originally intended to be. That's what queer means. And there are tons of books on things like queering education. We only have a few minutes left. Whose
Mhm.
children are they? Exposing the hidden agenda in America's schools. That's just one example. Another really good person to listen to. There's dumbing us down. And yes, I'll never
And
forget.
Carolyn Swain,
Yes,
um
yeah. I've got
mhm.
is this a picture of her? No.
Yep. No, that's Ryan. I
Ryan.
got to meet
I think this is
Ryan
Carolyn.
Walters. Yeah, and
There's
then
yeah,
there
Dr.
mhm.
Swain. Um, yes. And then also James Lindsay. He has an
Yes.
amazing website called New Discourses. He also has two things on his YouTube channel. One is New Discourses, where it goes really deep and long into everything. And you are dealing with somebody who's on the spectrum. So it can be, I wouldn't call him dry, but it's a lot of information. He
Yeah,
also
yeah.
has something called New Discourses Bullets, and that's where I suggest that most parents, teachers, administrators, anybody who's like, "I don't like where this is headed,"
Mhm.
you know,
Or
and
even if you just think like, "Is that right?" Or "Should
yes.
that be happening?" You know?
Yes. And I think there's a lot of people who do, and one of the more shocking things that I've seen, I've had a few teachers who've said things like, I used to think the way that you did, but the more I go to the trainings, the more I realize that it's fine."
Mhm. Oh,
Um,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
and what that is it's being slow boiled. You're being brainwashed, and you're also so afraid of being called a bigot. But my friends, the definition of bigot has changed. It's
Mhm.
no longer people who are intolerant. It's literally defined now by, I wanna say Webster, but it's not Webster, the other one that's big,
Oxford or yeah.
Oxford, I think. It is now defined as those who hang on to their deeply held beliefs, old traditions, old values, old customs. It's the
See,
freaking
and
core
in
old.
that, I'm proud. I'm a proud bigot. I mean, I think the thing that has opened my eyes is like you don't have to like me. I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I understand that. But I will never. I am like what you see is what you get. I am not going to be on the side of harming children. So you can call it whatever you want. You can call it the penguins or the kangaroos or like I don't care what you call it. I'm not going to be in there. I'm not going to be in that camp. So
100%.
if that makes me a bigot or and it's just crazy. These people think that we don't have friends that fit their categories.
Right.
I
Or
mean, I
family
have a
members.
friend,
Yeah.
actually my friend that you just popped up. Um, we left the union at the same time. Love her. And I cannot believe how many times she is like, somebody will see her and say something about, like, oh, can you believe what Trump is doing? Like, there's this assumption, and you probably understand this. There is this assumption, or like, I have a friend with purple, beautiful magenta hair. Now, would I do that? No. But the people that assume that she is one of them, it is so close-minded. It is unreal.
Yeah, it's always projection. We are running up on time,
I
and it'll
I
turn us
love
off.
yeah. I have a lot to say.
No, let's definitely I'll send you a message and we can keep going because this is the conversation. You are the person. I've been reaching out to teachers. I've asked teachers. I've got messages in my message box of teachers going, "Thank you, keep going."
Yeah,
Um, and I'll say, "Do you want to talk?" No. No, no, no.
I
And I understand
know.
why. And also, please hear me on this. I completely understand why. And we need you to stay where you are. I understand that, there's a ton of crazy. Subvert the crazy. That's, you know, the
Well, this
yeah,
year this year for me, that would be another podcast.
yeah,
The attacks were real. And I would say, thanks to my faith, there's a song that says, and this is a good way to end this one, but there's a song that says, "What the enemy meant for evil, you turned for good."
yeah.
And that was my mantra.
It's all over.
Sorry, are you
Sorry.
still?
Oh, sorry. I was like, how'd you end right at that
Oh,
time?
somebody just
No, that's
called
fine.
me.
In fact, I'm gonna put that at the end of this. I'm gonna put the lyrics at the end of this because that's exactly, I mean, yes, you turn it for good is exactly it. All
And I
right.
also feel like we have to have teachers that are kind of like me on the higher end, like highly effective, great evaluations. So if something were to change, um I have a leg to stand on because you cannot attack people, or I know they have, but you it's more of a personal thing and it gets into freedoms and it has nothing to do with me as a professional. And I made it through the fire this year. So,
Yeah,
um,
that's amazing. That's
yeah.
that's amazing that because I'm just like, oh my gosh, if anybody catches this, you could be in trouble. But
Well,
you
I
know,
have written multiple articles for both papers here in town. I speak at board meetings. I am not quiet. I feel like I'm hoping that by doing this, that more people will be like, okay, you
yes.
you can have a voice, and you don't have to be an activist on one side or the other. But I guess I think of myself as an activist for children.
Yep. I mean, I think the majority of us want a neutral education despite our own personal beliefs. We just believe our own beliefs should be personal and not in the classroom.
Absolutely. Yep.
Christy, I've very much enjoyed this. I just don't want it to
Thank
not
you.
download. That would be my biggest issue. Otherwise, I could absolutely go on another hour. But
No,
this has
yeah,
been
no, that's
lovely.
great.
So
I just because of the years and the experience and the places I've put myself in,
yeah,
there's a
that
lot.
yeah, that's wonderful. So everybody, please come back and like, follow, share. Share, 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 because the most important thing is that people understand that this is truth. Again, progressives do not believe in the concept of truth. They get smug when they can force you to say the emperor has clothes on.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great analogy.
So,
Yeah.
so all right, my friends, have a great
Thank
one.
you
And
so
we'll
much. I
time.
appreciate the
Thank you.
opportunity.
It's been
And
wonderful.
thank you
Thank
for
you.
doing what you do. It's so important.
Thanks. I just, I speak to whom will listen.